more than ever before, because of the pandemic, the way you present yourself is the way your brand is going to win.
I help people take their product ideas, their napkin ideas, from concept to fruition and everything in between.
Being able to live on a daily basis without chronic gut issues was a huge relief and a huge joy for me to experience, and so much it revolves around diet and food and what we eat and what our bodies like and don't like, and having that awareness is exactly what Curated Wellness can help you with.
Welcome, listeners. This is Elizabeth Gearhart, and standing in for Richard Gearhart today is
Lisa Ascolese.
Well, I am so excited about our show today. First of all, unfortunately, Richard's not here, but we have the wonderful Lisa Ascolese, the Inventress, filling in for Richard. Our guest is somebody that we know and love, Dr. Gilda Carle. We actually met her when we went out to Arizona. She's a wonderful woman who has done so much with her career. It's amazing. And then we have Brian Van Hecke, and I am so excited to hear about his health system for people. Looks really cool. So stay tuned. It's going to be a great show. So without further ado, Lisa, could you please introduce the wonderful Dr. Gilda?
Yes, I'm thrilled to introduce Dr. Gilda. I've been reading all about her and just honored to be the one to introduce her today. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Gilda Carle. Dr. Gilda Carle is, she's our guest host today. She's a relationship expert, a performance expert, author, and keynote speaker. And now she's introducing her new book, Amplify Your Media, Amplify Your Brand. Welcome, Dr. Gilda Carle.
Thank you, Lisa. What a pleasure to be here again. This is like family already. So, and I loved seeing Elizabeth and Richard when they were out in Arizona. We had such a fabulous lunch. We couldn't shut up. I mean, they practically threw us out of the restaurant. We had so much fun talking. There's so much to talk about. I love talking to bright people who are out there, who are doing major things in the world, and makes me feel good. I started my career actually as a teacher in the South Bronx many, many years ago. And while I was teaching the kids language arts, reading, writing, and doing more social work than I thought I would ever, I was learning from them about street smarts. So I ended up going into corporate America after I got my PhD, because I was doing that at the same time as I was teaching, and went into corporate America, and I was training executives in how to manage more effectively for the bottom line. And when companies, major corporations, called me in to find out what was disturbing the bottom line, it was always because of one thing, and that was some kind of interpersonal problem. So I checked out the needs, and then I assessed everything around the needs, and then I went in and fixed the problems. And it was wonderful as a performance coach doing all of that. And then, of course, pandemic hit. I've also been product spokesperson for major corporations, major products, major brands, and I'm out there a lot. I've also been on every single talk show you could imagine. Fox did a show for the Dr. Gilda show, a pilot. Unfortunately, the guy overseeing the whole thing suddenly died, and all his pilots fell to the ground. So that didn't go. And when I came out to Arizona, I took a lot of talent from New York who was very interested in developing a show I had written, and we were going to present it here in Arizona, and then pandemic hit. So everything is all upside down now. And while I was watching people suffer so terribly from their computers, because suddenly everybody was a television star without training, without intention, without knowledge of what to do or any skills, I said, I've done this for CEOs, I've done this for their staffs, I've done this for authors and celebrities and everybody else doing media coaching. I am going to write the all-time book that is necessary. I collated all of my notes, all the notes where I had taught MBA courses as well in communications, collated everything and developed this book, Amplify Your Media Presence, Amplify Your Brand, because the way you present yourself in the media, and we all seen this now more than ever before because of the pandemic, the way you present yourself is the way your brand is going to win.
Absolutely. What are your top 3 tips
For amplifying your brand?
for your media presence, for doing well in media?
For one thing, you have to understand that the attention span today of most people is that of a flea, like a windshield wiper. Bang, 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 it's over. You have 3 seconds to grab them and 5 seconds to really pull them in. And maybe if you're lucky, they will stick around for the 30 seconds that we are used to in a commercial. If you don't do that hook immediately and really get people going, you're not going to get anywhere. They will turn you off without apology. And we have to understand that. Unfortunately, the people behind the computer screen, as they are trying to make a favorable impression on their bosses, on their colleagues, on everybody who's buying whatever they're trying to sell in terms of ideas and integrity and everything else that's going on. Unfortunately, they have never been trained in this, and they were just thrown onto the screen. And we're trying to maintain bottom lines with people who are terrified of speaking in public, who are terrified of not putting their best foot forward, thinking on their feet or their seat or wherever. They've got to be able to just go with the flow, and they have not been trained that. So number 1 is understand the attention span of the audience. Number 2, understand who your audience is. You have to know who you're talking to. Some guy came to me, since I'm a writer, he said, "Oh, could you just look at this short story I've written?" I said, "Who is your audience?" And he said, "What does that mean? What does that matter?" I said, that's the number 1 thing you have to consider. And so one of the things I put in this book is a huge needs assessment to know your audience. Who are they? What are their demos? I sat down for the Today Show right before we were about to do a segment, and I said, "Tell me the demos." And the producer said, "Well, what?" I said, "I have to know who I'm talking to." And I didn't know that when they invited me in. And until I sat there, I had no idea that there are women between 40 and 60. And that skews unusually high on the high end for women who are supposed to be dead by then. And that's your audience. And so I had to speak to that audience specifically, as opposed to, I was a love doc on MTV, and that was a whole different audience. And when I did that show, it was a whole different group of people that I was talking to. I was talking to parents and their kids. And that ended up with me writing the book, Don't Lie on Your Back, for a guy who doesn't have yours.
I love that.
Yeah.
I loved that. I read through that also. So it's a very, very difficult thing to be able to do, because you're talking about a very broad audience. Who's my demographic, right? Who's
absolutely, absolutely.
And you want to appeal to this audience. You want to
but I have to know which audience I'm speaking to at any one time. And that audience is going to change. How many times, because I was the go-to relationship expert on every single talk show, how many times I would go onto a show, and I would think, oh my goodness, this person has this issue and this issue and this issue, because I read all the pre-interviews, and then all of a sudden I'm on the stage with somebody whose husband just revealed in the presence of a studio audience that he has been doing the plumbing for the entire neighborhood, as in the female plumbing. And here's this woman going, "Oh, Oh my God. And I ended up holding her and hugging her for the majority of the show until she finally walked off. And then I consoled her in the green room. It was an entirely different show. And then she decided, with the assertiveness that we talked about, and I told her, you don't have to go back on there if you don't want to. And she said, no, I am feeling much stronger now. And this is what I do, capitalize your I. You can't say to somebody, I love you, with a little tiny I. Otherwise, little lowercase i's attract lowercase losers. And that's what you're going to do. So you decide what you're going to do now. And she said, I'm going back on that stage. It saved the show. And after that, my whole career just soared. And I didn't plan this. And this is number 3, since you asked for 3 points. This is number 3. Always expect the unexpected. Bingo.
Hallelujah.
That's my spiel. I'm sticking to it.
Absolutely. And you're so right. And being able to appeal to every audience is there's a practice. You have to be a personality lover. You have to be a people person to do what you do, Dr. Gilda. There's no two ways about it. A lot of people would freeze in your position. They would freeze in your position and say, what do I do? I'm throwing in the towel. You were able to address this person, right?
Well, listen, when I dealt with CEOs in the corporate setting, now I do it all online. Mm-hmm. It just misses some flavor, I just want to get out there again. But when I addressed CEOs, I came from the strength that I had learned in the South Bronx, and I taught them street smarts. And here are these nice, well-educated, very conservative types, and I'm giving them street smart training. And they say, wow. But I was pulling from my own background. Whoever thought I'd get a PhD in street smarts?
Are you from the Bronx? Are you from the Bronx?
Originally, I am, yes.
Well,
but I'm taught in the South Bronx.
I love it. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere, right?
Well, honey, I know. That's it. You can make it there. You can make it anywhere. It was tough. And I have a lot of the kids are watching me. A lot of the kids I taught it back in the day are watching me. And a few of them, I was on some Broadway shows, some talk back lives after some Broadway shows. And a couple of them came for book signing to see me, to see their old teacher. Now, since that time, a lot of things have changed in my life, certainly in theirs. But here they were grown up people. Wow. It was, I never thought in a million years when I got started teaching that I would ever end up as a national relationship expert or a relationship strategist in corporate America. I never in a million years thought that. But then I do believe God gives us certain things that are presented to us. And if you are assertive enough and you know yourself, that we could add to number 4. If you know yourself and you believe that you can achieve, then you say yes. And then you say, oh no, what did I do? But that's behind the scenes. You don't tell anybody that.
Well, I feel like that's what Richard and I did with this radio show. It was not on our radar screen at all 3.5 years ago. And I wasn't really sure he'd go for it, but he jumped at it and I kind of got dragged along. And I'll tell you though, I mean, if you're able to take opportunities that present themselves, very unexpected ones, it can make a big difference in your life because we love doing this. And it's brought out aspects of ourselves that we didn't even know we had, right?
And this is a very accomplished woman, everybody who's watching. She has a PhD in
chemistry,
of all things. And here she is talking to us about the law and branding and putting yourself out there, talking to all these fabulous guests. It's amazing. Life is just so rich with opportunity. All you have to do is pluck one, pluck another, and you can do a whole bunch of pluckings all at the same time.
Yeah, and I've learned so much doing the show. And, Lisa's been here from the beginning. She was one of the first people on the show, weren't you?
What a pleasure, too. Yes, it's always fun, number one.
Wow.
Always. And such a wonderful opportunity to work with Elizabeth and Richard and become friends. And we feel like family, and just such an honor to meet people like yourselves, Dr. Gilda and Brian. It's just, I'm thrilled. So we're going to, I want to ask you one more question before we go on to asking Brian questions about his amazing business. I need to know everything about your vitamins and everything else. But I want to ask you, Dr. Gilda, because I need to know this. You talk about having confidence on Zoom. We're thrust into this lifestyle of being on Zoom calls. Some people, you mentioned in one of your interviews, 7 to 9 times a day. And we were not trained to act or to understand lighting or backdrops. Now we're decorating our homes just to be on Zoom. The pressure, I think we talked about Zoom 19, very much like COVID-19, right? But it's Zoom 19.
That's what one guy called it. He said, forget about COVID-19. Zoom 19 is making me so anxious. This is one of the leaders.
Right. So it's in your training, and you talk about this in your book, you know, amplify your media, amplify your brand. It's how do you do that on a regular basis with all of the minutia and the noise of the family and everything happening behind the scenes, being on Zoom, having to amplify your brand, but worrying about everything else that's going on around you?
Well, I think that, you know, we've recently read about the she session. So many women are dropping out of the marketplace, and there's a good reason for that. We know that the women are above and beyond the caretakers. Even if they hire help, they are still the overseers of the help. And so many people cannot do a million different things at once. And then that Room Raider app came upon us on Twitter, where people were look at Brian's background. Wow, he could add a green sofa there and a pink sofa there. And
distracting.
This is so upsetting to people. And of course, the hair and the makeup, all the nonsense that we have to do when we're on TV all the time.
Ascots, for God's sakes.
Yes, in case you haven't noticed, Richard wears an ascot when he does the show. So since Lisa's filling in for Richard, she is wearing an ascot. Great job, Lisa.
Let me tell you something, Richard. I Googled how to wear an ascot. All right, I cannot fill the shoes of Richard. I tried the ascot. Obviously, this is not ascot style, but I did my best, and no one could ever fill the shoes of Richard. So,
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So she's making it feel all at home. But the answer in the short way is that we have got to be so focused. And even then, the audience has to have a new kind of vision for what is acceptable. We will hear the dogs barking in the background. We will hear kids whining and screaming, and underneath it all, we'll see partners squabbling and being upset with each other. The laundry has to be taken out, take down the garbage, and do all of this stuff. And it's for our leaders to understand that there has to be more leeway given to people, because this is truly, and we've heard this term because I teach business courses as well, and we've heard this term time and time again, home-life balance. Now suddenly we are truly thrown into that, and we have to be more aware and more accommodating to the balance that is necessary in the home and the life, because they're now so blended. So you've got to keep focused and make sure before you get on air with your boss, with your colleagues, with anybody, that you have set 1, 2, 3, 4 ideas. Put them on a paper and make sure you stick to them no matter what the other garbage is all around. We like to have non-noise. We like to have peace and quiet. We're liking silence, quiet, being able to do what we need to do. And now that's all changed. Now we have to be more accommodating. Did I answer the question?
You did answer the question, and you also mentioned before just getting to know who you are, knowing yourself, and not worrying so much about people looking at you like, who is this person? Who does she think she is?
Well, and
No.
this is really what kills me. This is why I also talk to the teen audiences, because girls will come up to me and they say, well, I know I'm pretty, but I don't look like the covers on the magazines. And I have to shake them and I say, the covers of the magazines don't look like the covers of the magazines. Those aren't even real. They're computer generated or they're Photoshopped. You don't have to worry about competition with that. You have to worry about competition within yourself. And that's why I write and care and do speeches even at schools.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I was able to do speeches that were live. But and that's why I talk to these kids. It's all about feeling good about yourself, and you don't have to be 65 or 16. It doesn't matter. You
Exactly.
always have to know that before you say, I am Dr. Gilda, I have to have a capital I, so that people will not look at me with anything but, I want to hear what this person has to say.
Right.
So Dr. Gilda, are you taking clients now? Are you working with people?
Yeah, and they're all online.
And what are you doing with them? Is this one-on-one coaching? Are you doing product representations?
No, I haven't done since this pandemic, and that's why I said to Lisa, maybe you can help me.
Absolutely.
I haven't done that. I could sell the Brooklyn Bridge, but I would like to be on the Jumbotron again, which I was with one of my clients. I mean, I want to get out there and do amazing things, but now I'm behind the screen as everybody else is, and I have a very robust clientele from all around the world. In fact, I will say that some people in some different countries, in some different professions would prefer this because it's untraceable. One of the Hollywood stars had said to me, it's impossible. Every time I go to a therapist, the paparazzi follows me. With this, I don't have to do anything that they can follow.
So what kind of coaching are you doing now?
Well, you see, in my life, I am a relationship strategist for corporations, but it all blends in with a relationship problem always in their interactions. And sometimes people will come to me and say, I have a problem with this particular thing at my job. And then we dig deep. And because I am able to do that, we dig deep, and she's having a problem at home with her husband. And so the relationship expert part and the relationship strategist part are all blended together. So I am doing media coaching, I am doing relationship coaching, and everything in between.
Excellent. Well, we have got to go to a break. Yes, so this is Passage to Profit on WOR 710 with normally Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart, but today Elizabeth Gearhart and Lisa Ascolese filling in for Richard, and our wonderful guest, Dr. Gilda Carle. We will be right back. Well, welcome back, listeners. You are listening to Passage to Profit with Lisa Ascolese filling in for Richard Gearhart. I'm Elizabeth Gearhart, our wonderful guest, Dr. Gilda Carle, and we have another presenter with us today, Brian Van Hecke. And right now we are going to hear from Lisa, the Inventress, about what she does and then pepper her with questions. So welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. What a pleasure to be here once again. But this time standing in for wearing my lovely ascot, Richard.
Wearing the ascot like Richard.
See this. He'll love you. Never do that again. Anyway, my name is Lisa Ascolese, known as the Inventress. I'm the CEO and founder of Inventing A to Z, where I help people take their product ideas, their napkin ideas, from concept to fruition and everything in between. So I'll explain what that means. So many people come to me with napkin ideas, mental inventions, I call them, and really don't know how to flesh them out. Where do I go? What do I do? If I have an invention in my head, what do I actually do? If I have a product idea, what do I do? Well, you come to me, Lisa Ascolese, the Inventress. I've been inventing products for over 38 years. It's much longer than that, but I'm not saying longer because then I kind of date myself, right? So inventing products since I was 9 years old, literally developing products, solving problems, not knowing I was inventing. I really didn't. I was just creating a safe way for me to utilize products. And that's really how I started. Anyway, so today, moving forward, I still invent. It's my business. It's what I do every single day. I consult with clients and I explain to them how they take their products from beginning to end and everything in between. So beginning from prototyping to manufacturing, to packaging, to sourcing, manufacturing. And the big topic these days is supply chain issues. Teach people how to, you can't avoid supply chain issues, by the way. Everybody says, how do you solve the problem of supply chain issues? Well, I wish I could, but I can't. Nobody can. We just have to learn how to deal with it. This is the life we're living. From COVID-19, it's all been a domino effect. It hasn't stopped. COVID stopped manufacturing, stopped sourcing, stopped everything. So we all came to a halt, a very, very abrupt halt, which is now what's causing the domino effect. Manufacturers are overwhelmed and just overworked with manufacturing. Shipping containers have stopped. I have containers that are stuck in Shanghai. They're doing all kinds of investigations over shipment. So it's a lot to take in, a lot to understand, but it's just a part of what is happening right now in terms of supply chain. Now, in terms of getting product in stores, I put products on QVC television, HSN, Shop HQ, and I help people even to prepare to get on Shark Tank. Big deal, right? Big deal. But it takes work, perseverance, passion, and patience. And I'm sure you have a million questions because I gave you a whole host of what inventing and manufacturing is all about, but there are details in between. So please feel free to ask.
Well, Lisa, I just want to say this and then I'll throw it over to Dr. Gilda, but a few years ago, you sent me your list of things that you expect people to do if they're going to work with you. And I promised not to share it with anybody, so I deleted it. Mm-hmm. And I was so impressed. I was like, and you hold people's feet to the fire. Like it's like, you better be serious if you're going to work with me, because we are going to take this idea of yours and we are going to blow it out all the way through. So very impressive what you do.
Thank you. I mean, and I say, if I'm more passionate about somebody else's product, they probably shouldn't be doing. I expect my clients to be involved and ensconced and excited about, building a product, building a business. And if you're lackadaisical and kind of lagging behind, it's probably not the space for you, because there's a lot of work involved in all of building a business, maintaining it, maintaining relationships, and really trying to get your feet off the ground at the same time. So yes, thank you, Elizabeth, for that.
I am very, very impressed with what you do, because I don't have products. Companies call me in to be spokesperson for their products. And I remember going down to QVC with a product. These guys wanted me to be a spokesperson for their perfume. Mm-hmm. It was really a pheromone product. And it was, just delicious. And we went down to QVC. They were very interested in me because being on all the talk shows, that was my group of viewers. So they were very interested. And at the time I was writing for Soap Opera Digest to even more enhance this possibility. And they didn't have enough. And they wanted to do this. QVC said, we can't do this because after all, we don't do perfumes usually. I think they've changed since then. I said, I understand it's not smell-o-vision. I understand this is television, but I could sell anything, no problem. And they had a story, and you have to have a story. That's another thing for Brian, especially, and everybody else out there. You have to have a story behind your product. Anyway, and they didn't, these people, the manufacturers, could not supply enough product. Mm-hmm. And then that was it. I was so disappointed because I would have loved to have done that. I still have a dream.
Great. You would be great on air, Dr. Gipson.
I would love to be on QVC. That's one of my little dreams. when people are saying, so you've done this, you've done that, you have your own show and radio show and television. What would you like to do next? I said, I would love to be on QVC. And they're like, what?
Listen, when you ask, you receive, right? So you put it out there, it's in existence. So I'm speaking that into existence for you, that is going to happen.
Thank you.
And QVC, like, I don't think QVC lets just any person on. I mean, because you have to stand up there for hours and talk about these products, right?
You stand up there for 6 minutes and talk about a product. So Dr. Gilda, I'm going to go back to what you said before about having when you're presenting to a corporation, right? Same as QVC, you want to have your 3 bullet points together in order. You're not talking for hours. You're talking in a 6-minute segment. And so you need to appeal to that audience in 6 minutes. What are your top 3 features and benefits? Same when it comes to corporate, same when you're doing an interview. Talk about what the subject is. They're not there to listen to how your grandchildren are doing.
Nobody can, right.
So your backstory is great. Your backstory is great. This is how I invented the product. This is where it came from. That takes a second. The rest of it is, bullet points about specifications about the product. How does it work? What does it do? Why am I here? And why should you buy it?
And why should this audience listen to you? Well, that's already my audience. So that's what they were saying. Hey, this is your audience anyway. So,
So Lisa, you got our good friend.
Sell me this microphone. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, you got our good friend Kevin Lane on QVC. Did Kevin, I think it was early in the morning. So did Kevin go on with you or did you go on for him?
No. So I brought Kevin on. I presented his product and he went on. He went on air and he did so very well. And he was a nervous wreck because you never know. You never know what's going to happen on air. You attest to that, Dr. Gilda. You never know what's going to happen. You have to be prepared for anything. But Kevin did very, very well. And you never know. You don't know if you're doing well. You know that. You don't know if you're doing well until you watch yourself afterwards. But Kevin did exceedingly well. He sold hundreds of products in a 6-minute segment. And what's exciting about QVC is when you go back to our green room, you go back and you look at the numbers and the numbers still continue to go after your product is off air. So he was on a 6-minute segment 3 times and he sold out. He did an amazing job.
That's amazing. That's just
and
amazing.
That's how it rolls. This is real stuff. This is real.
Oh, I've lived it. I've lived it. This brings to mind something. I was on a show. I had just written a non-book. It was a book, but it was before I published any real books. And it was about anger and your relationships. And I said, how am I going to get people interested? So I hit it with a huge, crazy headline. And I went to Fox and Friends and I said, cheating could be the best part of your relationship.
Great subject line. I like that.
Right? And they brought me on. I was on Fox and Friends and I said, and just download this. I had never done this before and it wasn't even a book. Hundreds of thousands of books that were downloaded were being ordered. And I said, oh my goodness. And they said, what do you mean cheating is the best thing to happen in a relationship? I said, well, originally I had said cheating is the best thing to happen in a messed up relationship, because then suddenly the tree is shaken and the coconut goes bang on your head and you say, now what are we going to do? So that will get people to move into healing or getting out.
Oh, wait, I have to say something. So I talk about subject lines all the time. People ask me how I get to my buyers, right? So I've had relationships with the buyers at QVC and HSN and Shop HQ for many years, right? As well as retail stores. But how do you get to them? Because they're 24 hours a day. They're working 24 hours a day. The show is 24 hours a day.
Right.
So how I captivate my buyer is my subject line. It's always the subject line, okay?
This is so important.
Is your foot in the door into the conversation with that buyer. So your subject line,
sure.
I don't know if it's recent, but I'm sure you had over millions of hits because it's captivating and it's riveting.
Oh, it was amazing. And then of course the written media picked it up. And I'm always quoted in all the tabloids every week about some celebrity doing something stupid. So I mean, it was picked up everywhere. I think National Enquirer put it on their health page. And I mean, I was all over with it. When you find something that works, you run with it.
Yeah.
And that's what being an inventor and entrepreneur is all about.
Yeah, who's a great example of that? Is Bethany from the Housewives.
Oh yeah.
So Bethany
Brilliant.
took that show. Let me tell you something. And she just launched her career.
Yeah.
She was in the forefront, and she says, now is my opportunity to take every skinny pen, every skinny microphone, every skinny thing and put it on the market. Skinny vodka, I don't know if it's vodka, but she's got her skinny wines and skinny. That captivates everybody. Skinny, how to be skinny, how to drink skinny. So she took her product. Yeah, she took her product line.
But she hooked into something in the human consciousness, especially female human consciousness, that really resonated with them. And that's why it gets back to knowing who the heck is your audience.
Right.
Listen, cheating is the best thing for your marriage, and being skinny. So we got the two most compelling subjects on the planet. We've got, what's more compelling than that? And cheating.
Well, I never said it was the best thing for the marriage. I said it, I knew the media would change my words around. I said, in a messed up marriage, yes, something's got to give. And everybody's walking around.
I mean, I combine skinniness with your cheating.
Yeah, so, exactly.
That's great.
That and run with it, right? That being said,
if I'm real skinny, then maybe he won't cheat on me.
I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think some people are just that way. But, so Lisa, this is really fun. I want to go through your process with your clients a little bit. So people come to you sometimes with just an idea, right?
Uh-huh.
And I know you work with Tara Akaway, who's an amazing PR person. Like, she gets people their own TV shows, helps with that and everything. So, but they come to you and you sit down and you tell them, this is the thing, these are the things you're going to need to do. And I'm going to be there. I'm going to be your coach, and I will hold your hand. You can use my manufacturers. You can use my prototypers. You can use Gearhart Law for your IP. You can,
always.
Yeah. And
it all covered here.
Properties, always.
But,
I always do, and that's the truth.
But I think the real value with what you do, because a lot of people say they'll do pieces of this, they'll do it. First of all, you do soup to nuts. You go from idea to QVC. But secondly, the people that you work with are trusted people, because there are a lot of people out there that will just take your money and not do what they said they were going to do. Absolutely. And like getting something made overseas, like a lot of people are doing it, but it's not that easy. You have to know the manufacturers, you have to trust them, you have to get them to make the product right, and you have to keep going back to them if they screw it up, right?
Absolutely, for sure. It goes back to relationship building. I've built many relationships with my manufacturers overseas for years. So, I have the reins for my clients. I hold the reins for my clients. They don't do it. I don't give them my manufacturer. I do not give them my resources. I don't do it. I give them the tools to do it on their own. I give every single person who comes to me for a consultation with an idea an opportunity to do it on their own. I give them tools to do it on their own. I give them steps to do it on their own. So what I do when I'm managing is I reach out to my trusted manufacturers, to my sources, and I work with them through every single aspect, from the prototyping process to everything else. And I have a conversation and I communicate with them, and I have to trust them. I have to trust them. Therefore, my clients trust me. And it is a process. As I mentioned before, it's patience, it's perseverance, and it's passion. Because if you don't have all three of those pieces, it's not going to work. Okay, it takes a lot. It sounds easy, it looks easy. Yeah, I have all these patents, I have all these products on QVC, but it took a lot to get there. It doesn't happen overnight. it's not snapping your fingers and it's done. A lot of some of these companies out there will say, I see your product. I'm going to do some research on it, whatever that means. I'll do some research on this widget product, and I can get it on a shelf in 4 weeks. Malarkey, I say. It doesn't happen that way. There's a process and there are steps. And I'm a hand holder, so I get each one of my clients through it. Now, I want to add also, Elizabeth, I don't take every person on as a client. I just don't do it, because if they don't have those elements, I can't do it. As I said to you before, if they don't have the passion and the perseverance and the diligence and the communication skills that I need to get them to the next level, it doesn't work for any of us. So I select that my clients are hand selected.
Right. So who would you say is one of your most successful clients? Probably someone you've been working with the longest, right? Who would that be?
Successful and the longest. That's a hard one, because I've taken people from just a napkin to manufacturing and watching them succeed on QVC. Let's see.
Or a few of them.
I mean, there are many. So from concept to fruition, I have clients who built, believe it or not, picture frames. So I built a very unique picture frame that we put on QVC, and it's still on QVC to this day, still on their .com. They may not necessarily be on air, but they're still on. Another client is not necessarily on QVC. I want to talk about Christopher Davis. Christopher David is one of my clients who came to me with a napkin idea. Now I can say what it is.
Napkin, can you explain what you mean by napkin idea?
Sure. Napkin idea is when you take something and you scribble down your whatever the product is, right? So it's a napkin. You take a napkin literally. I've done this in my car. I look around for anything to write on in my car. I had an aha moment, aha invention, and I just write it down anywhere. So that's a napkin idea. When you think of a product, you have nowhere else to write it, but you have a napkin in your car. I used to do it on my deposit slips when I always had deposit slips in my car. And wow, that sounds like I must be filthy rich. I'm always making. Don't let the deposit slip fool you.
Yeah.
But I was always writing on deposit slips my ideas. And so that's a napkin idea, Elizabeth, to answer your question.
And so you were talking about Christopher David came to you with a napkin idea, which I have to say, I just bought some of his products to give out as gifts.
Yeah, so Christopher David is one of my clients. Napkin idea we then built the product, which is called Your Scent. It's a car air freshener, and the only type of car freshener of its kind where you can actually put your own scent, your own cologne into this vessel, put it in your car vent, and you have a lovely scent. It does come with 2 essential oils, and he's just magnificent. So he from the napkin idea all the way to the marketplace. Christopher told me just this morning, he says, I sold over $8,000 in inventory over the last couple of months. And that's amazing for a new inventor. And you know that, Brian, it's unbelievable. You too, Dr. Gilda. It's not easy to sell a product. It's easy to come up with an invention, very, very easy, especially if you're an inventor. If you're a writer, it's easy to write. It's easy. How do you market your product?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. And his product, though, is a really good one. I mean, part of it is how good the product is. So the lady that we had on the show last week has this incredible skincare and makeup line. She was the first one to make lipstick that stayed on your face. But part of it is her product, and part of it is her and her personality and her drive. And a lot of it, though, is how much energy you put into it and your marketing. Like a lot of it's your marketing too.
How long you're willing to stay in the game. You want to stay in it, or you want to let go. And there's nothing wrong with moving on and pivoting and doing something else. There's nothing wrong with it. But the more you put into it and the more you step up and talk about it and scream from the rooftops what your product is, we talk about YouTube all the time, those 30-second videos, do 30-second videos to talk about it. Christopher David, I'll go back to him. Christopher David even created another character. He created, what do you call it when you're doing another personality for yourself?
An avatar, or
no, well, it's another person. I don't want to make it look like split personality, but
an alias, maybe.
There's another name, another person. He created another person for himself. And this other person is with him on screen and going back and forth and talking about your scent.
That's
It's amazing.
awesome.
That's brilliant.
So-
Wow.
It's
That
brilliant.
is. That's
It is
really
brilliant.
cool.
So I'm going to use Christopher as a great example because, and he's a newer client, but he hasn't stopped from the time he came to me with that napkin idea to putting it on Amazon, his own website, and he's selling and selling because
I
he's
have-
in the forefront.
Yeah, I have a question for you to ask for Christopher, for me.
Sure.
If he gets into developing scents, or maybe there's someplace I can buy this scent already. You know what I want to get for Richard for his car? Which scent I want to get?
What's that?
Bacon.
Oh,
Wouldn't it be great to have bacon scent?
Sure. I think I'm hung out. Listen, you know what happens when you start thinking about food automatically? And whoever does psychology, I think you do some psychology too, Dr. Gilda. I automatically, my stomach starts. So if you want to, are you trying to have your husband gain weight?
No, I'm just trying to think of like his favorite aroma.
Torture.
That's probably it.
Torture. I now love bacon. Imagine having that scent in your car
No,
every time you.
I was just kidding.
It's a great idea. I like it for the house because
but
I love it. Great idea. You could pretend you're cooking. You could say, well, you just missed the meat. If you came home earlier, I had bacon cooking.
but this is knowing your audience, and she's playing to the audience that she knows and loves.
I love it. I love it, Elizabeth. I think it's great.
Yes. Well, on that note, I think we have to move on to the next segment. So we're going to take a break, and Lisa, you can bring us back when we come back. Okay. So listeners, you are listening to Passage to Profit with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart, and sitting in for Richard, Lisa Ascolese, the Inventress, and our wonderful guest, Dr. Gilda Carle. And we are on WOR 710, and we will be right back.
Hi, everybody. We're back here on Passage to Profit, iHeartRadio. With Elizabeth Gearhart, we have Dr. Gilda Carle, our guest, and another guest, Brian Van Hecke from Wellness, your Curated Wellness. Welcome today, Brian. How are you?
Fantastic. Great to meet you, Lisa.
Great to meet you also. Hope I didn't mess you up too badly there, Brian.
You're doing fantastic. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you so much. Trying to stand in Richard's shoes today with this ascot is messing me up.
I love the look. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. So Brian, let's talk about you. What's going on? Tell me about your wellness. Tell me about your vitamins. We're really excited to hear about you. I certainly need everything you're providing. I read a lot about you. Very interesting. We have a lot of questions for you today.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be on the show and to talk about Curated Wellness. So Curated Wellness started a couple years ago, and I met a local trained nutritionist who seemed to just have a wealth of knowledge and information about wellness, about nutrition, about eating, about vitamins and supplements. And I was really impressed with her knowledge. And it turned out she went to a school that's based out of Washington State, and she had started her own local practitioner. And so looking at that, I also saw the struggle. I saw the struggle that these local practitioners have in terms of coming back after going to school, gaining all this knowledge, and then trying to start their own businesses to support and help people locally. And so I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful to help 1 million people to have access to this amazing wealth of knowledge as it relates to holistic health and wellness. And really you mentioned subject line, how important the subject line is earlier. Mm-hmm. And our subject line is basically eliminating the guesswork around health and wellness, because there is so much confusion out there. There's so much sort of, maybe not great product out there. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to eliminate the guesswork for people, make it accessible nationally, and provide access not only to trained practitioners who could help guide people on a personal journey to overcoming health conditions, to understanding what works for them and from a health and nutrition standpoint, but also access to vitamins and supplements, high quality, it turns out there are all these wonderful professional grade brands that are available, typically only through trained practitioners. And so we wanted to make those brands accessible to more people nationally through our site at curatedwellness.com. And so we offer basically two things. It's a members only practice. So people join our practice. It starts at $19.95 a year. So it's highly affordable. And that gives them access to two things, basically. One is access virtually to our trained practitioner team so that they can take quizzes and understand what their health goals are and get personalized guidance on that. And then also a highly curated supplement and vitamin shop that eliminates, again, the guesswork. That is not a superstore. We don't offer all brands and all product. It's basically very highly curated to help guide people and help make these high quality brands accessible to more people across the country.
So Brian, can you, I'm getting a real picture of what you do. Can you just explain, like when somebody goes to your website, I saw that you have to become a member, which I haven't done yet. And then there's a quiz that you take or some sort of test that you take. And then that directs you to which supplements you should order. Is that how it works?
So part of joining our practice is you take an intake form, and then as you would with any, practitioner or doctor, if you will. And then, yes, there is a detailed health quiz that our members take so that they can get a better understanding of things that might work for them and things that are not working for them. And then again, through the support of a practitioner, they're able to get a more specific, personalized guidance on that. And so it's a very detailed quiz that evaluates again, what's working for their health and in terms of, and again, we're food first, so it's nutrition first. And so through that quiz platform, and then through the evaluation of one of our trained practitioners, they then meet with one of our practitioners and then also get guidance and a health guide as well, which we provide to all of our members. So yes, it's highly supportive. And again, these quizzes help to uncover what's working and what's not working for people.
I have a question for you, Brian. This is such a problem solver for me, if it is a problem solver, if it can be. You're golden. I went to the doctor recently, of course, my annual checks, and my pressure is a little elevated. And there's the first thing that I hear is take this medication. Take this medication, not take this vitamin, or not work out, or not. And I walk away extremely frustrated. Okay. I don't know what this medication is doing to my body. What should I supplement it with? Because I know it's taking something away, maybe putting something in, but certainly taking something out. We're not told by our regular physicians what to do holistically in order to improve our health. It's take a tablet and do this. So what I do is I wind up at the health food store. Okay. One of the health food stores that you're talking about that has all of the brands. So if high blood pressure, you should be taking more of this. For your liver, you should be taking this. And then it's a ball of confusion. So then I start reading, don't take too much turmeric because it causes kidney stones. Don't take too much milk thistle because it causes problems for your liver if there's alcohol in it. We need knowledge and information. So if you're providing that with Curated Wellness, I'm on your subscription list now, ASAP. So, yes. And another question, are your physicians or your practitioners, are they holistically trained to provide the information that we need on a holistic level?
Yeah, so exactly. And first, let me say, we do not treat, we are not doctors. We are practitioners, if you will. And so, yes, there's obviously been, especially over the last couple of years, been a heightened awareness of the benefits of vitamins and supplements, that these might be beneficial. A lot of people in our country and around the world are low on vitamin D, for example. Mm-hmm. And so people are starting to understand the importance of vitamin D, also the importance of zinc and other things. So we absolutely help with that. But we are not a replacement, obviously, for doctors. We are not doctors. We don't treat. But we can help people with their health goals and to achieve their health goals that they have. And also help to identify what's causing some of their health conditions. So we have bundled product two together, and what we call, that's why we're Curated Wellness. We have these curations that are specifically designed around women's health, men's dailies, women's dailies, and it's a curated bundle of product from, again, all these high quality professional grade brands that we offer. A lot of them are focused around digestive issues, gut issues. Those are things that are chronic again in our country and around the world. And that was my personal journey. I suffered from gut issues for 40 plus years and couldn't figure it out until I got help through one of these trained practitioners. And it was a big eye opener as far as what was working and what wasn't working. And finally, being able to live on a daily basis without chronic gut issues was a huge relief and a huge joy for me to experience, And so much it revolves around diet and food and what we eat and what our bodies like and don't like. And having that awareness is exactly what Curated Wellness can help you with.
I think that's so important, because what works for me is not going to work for the next person.
Yep.
And my system is really sensitive. And, I've had doctors say, well, this works for everybody, it'll work for you. And it doesn't. It does the opposite.
And isn't it a process of elimination? I mean, so Brian, you're saying for 40 years you had gut issues. I can't imagine that,
Yep.
40 years. So how isn't it a process of elimination? How do you get to a point where now you have zero gut issues? Did you cut out 3 foods in your diet? Did you, and of course you're not going to sit here and tell us your whole medical background, but
Yep.
I think the most frustrating part for me now is, understanding now, is my high blood pressure hereditary? Is there really anything I can do about it? Do I live with it? So I've eliminated salt from my diet completely. Anything added, even the pink salts. But what are the vitamin supplements? Who can I go to actually give me a real analysis of what vitamins I should be putting in my body in addition to working out? That's going to help.
It's, and just to mention the salt, your body actually needs salt. And again, I'm not a doctor or practitioner, but I do know that your body does need pink Himalayan salt is what you should be using in moderation.
I do use that, but then I'm finding out you shouldn't use any salt at all, because there's salt in the foods that you eat, right?
Yeah,
Natural.
exactly. But bottom line is that's what our practitioner team is trained in, to help people get healthy and wellness. For my own personal journey, I first started to eliminate gluten. Gluten, turns out, was an issue for me, as it is for many people. And so after I eliminated most of the gluten, I started to feel better. But that wasn't everything. And so, and then I learned that I wasn't digesting the food as well as I possibly could. So taking enzymes helped me tremendously. So little things like that. And through some, process elimination and discussing sort of my symptoms, if you will, through the guidance of one of our practitioners, I was able to overcome those challenges that I had. And I feel so much better now and no longer get tied up in a knot from my gut after eating, So it was enlightening to have a better understanding of, again, nutrition first, what works, what doesn't work. And this amazing school out of Washington called the NTA, and all these practitioners who are trained and are scattered all around our country. And then again, putting together a team and a company to help market this knowledge, if you will, and make it accessible to people around the country. That's really what Curated was all about.
That's excellent. You know what?
Trying to help 1 million people was really my early goal. Not just 10 clients, but 1 million.
That's awesome. I want to get to Dr. Gilda before we run out of time.
I have a question. I have several questions. First of all, what are the credentials of these trained practitioners that you have?
Yeah, most of our FNTPs is the certification that they receive from the NTA. So it's a functional nutritional therapist.
I asked that question because I've done a lot of work in the medical community, and most physicians in medical school are given about 6 hours of training in nutrition, and that is it. So I am a diabetic, and I also had gut problems years ago, And until I came out here, I found out that these were food sensitivities that I was suffering from.
Yep.
And I had no idea. I thought I had acid reflux for a long time. So I had to then, again, we are all on our own. And that's why this is a good testimony for your company, because we are totally alone. We can't depend upon our physicians to guide us. And I have been to several different nutritionists. And each time I go to a different nutritionist, I hear a different story. And then I said, enough is enough. As a diabetic, I watch everything I eat. I read labels. I look at brands. And I'm very, very careful about what I ingest. But ultimately, we are all on our own. And as Elizabeth was saying, the things that work for me are not going to work for her, or vice versa. And look, I hardly take, and if my blood sugars are a little high because I had too good a party time, and believe me, my partying is maybe eating another portion of steak. But if that's the case, then I take a little tiny bit of insulin and I am fine. So they're pretty normal. And my doctor just recently said, don't come back here for another 6 months now. I was seeing him regularly every 3 months. But ultimately, we are on our own. And this, for your company, makes people far more educated about what works for them and does not. And that's the best we can ask for.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that. And this is exactly right. Again, we are nutrition first. And we have a wonderful blog and creating so much content to educate people, to educate our members, that we make accessible to our members. And we're really building the community for people to come to a place to learn, to better understand, and like you mentioned, so that they can take control of their own nutrition and health and wellness. And again, with the guidance of one of our practitioners, we can help tremendously to achieve their goals, help them feel better on a daily basis.
Well, I really like the name of your company, because you're not a supplement company. You are your personal wellness based on what we know, a big, huge database of knowledge from a lot of different people that have been studying this their whole careers. And I think it's excellent. I think, Lisa, I wanted to ask you though, how would you market this? It's a product, but it's not really the product that you need to market, right? It's the concept, it's the idea.
Great question. I love that question.
I can't believe I don't know you exist. Okay. So that means more social media, certainly YouTube channels. I'm sure you have a whole host of YouTube, but I'd like to see you do a national campaign, because this is something I have to tell you. I just spoke with my daughter about this out of pure frustration, needing to know more about what supplements to take, because if you're taking the wrong supplements, they can be dangerous. So I would say 100% put together some kind of a national campaign so people know that this type of company exists, because we're all looking for it.
We're all looking for it, because we all think there could be supplements that can help us, but I found that a lot of supplements make me sick.
They can hurt you. They can certainly harm you. But I would definitely say, keep doing this. I'd love to have you on my podcast. Get on every podcast there is, every radio show, and shout it from the rooftops. This is not a QVC. There's no product, essentially, right? No product, but certainly something that I'd love to hear you talk about more everywhere.
It's definitely resonating. And so thank you so much for these words. And you're right. We don't have a curated wellness brand of supplements. That's not what we're about. It turns out there's all these wonderful, high quality, professional grade products and vitamins and supplements that are out there, like Vital Proteins, like Pure Encapsulations, Thorne, Vital Nutrients, Mega Food, Nordic Naturals. These are really awesome brands that typically aren't accessible to people. And that's what Curated is all about, making them accessible, helping to eliminate the guesswork of which ones to take, which ones not to take, curating them in bundles specifically focused on their own personal needs and personal goals, and helping them throughout the entire process and journey.
Excellent.
Can you repeat your website, Brian? Repeat your website again.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be on here. I'd like to hear you say it again.
Yes. The company is Curated Wellness, and our website is curatedwellness.com. curatedwellness.com.
Excellent. Well, this has been wonderful. I have to take a few minutes here and talk about Fireside a little bit, my startup. So, as you know, I started a video directory of small businesses called Fireside Directory. And Brian, if you want to do an interview with me for it, I would love to interview you for that website. That
Fantastic.
website, yeah,
Love to.
you do all the talking, and it's video marketing. So you can hold up, or put up pictures of your website or whatever video you would like, or whatever images you would like. I'm working with a peer advisory board now, and I'm pretty excited because I'm really getting a lot of things in place. And someone said, well, can you do, what do they call it? A wireframe of how you want your website to be? And I said, well, of course I can. And I've never done one before. But I went online and I watched a YouTube video, a couple of them, how you do a wireframe for a website. And then I found, and one of them said, use this software. So I found some software. So I did my wireframe. You know what? If you take the time, you can, and now I'm sure mine isn't as good as a professional, but it's a place to start when I go to a professional website person, right? So you can teach yourself a lot of stuff. So that's what I'm doing with Fireside these days. And right now we have to go for a break, but when we come back, we're going to go through a little bit of a recap of the show. We'll tell everybody's websites again. And, then we'll have to wrap up. But this has been really interesting today. I'm sorry that Richard wasn't here, but it's been a great show. So listeners, you are listening to Passage to Profit on WOR 710. We will be right back. Welcome back. You are listening to Passage to Profit with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart. Standing in for Richard is Lisa Ascolese, the Inventress. Lisa, what a cool show today, huh?
It was amazing. I'm so well educated today. I'm getting my vitamins curated.
Yes. So we had, as our special guest, we had Dr. Gilda Carle, and you can find her at www.drgilda.com, drgilda.com. And standing in for Richard, we had Lisa Ascolese, the Inventress, who you can find at inventingatoz.com, inventingatoz.com. And she takes clients and helps them go from an idea to QVC if that works out. And then we had Brian Van Hecke, who had curatedwellness.com. This is revolutionary. I don't think anybody's had been doing this yet. I'm going to go on his site, curatedwellness.com. He helps you with the help of a lot of professionals who really know what they're doing, figure out which vitamins and minerals would work for your body. And this feels like it's something that's really brand new. So I think this has been a great show. Dr. Gilda, do you have any comments on the show?
Always walk along life with a capital I, because what you give out is the way you're going to get treated by others.
Excellent. Lisa?
I just want to say this has been wonderful, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. And thank you, Richard. You're not here, but thank you for these wonderful guests. Let's continue to lift each other up 2 hands at a time, because we need to do things together. And sometimes you got to use your foot, right? So let's do this as a team. Thank you. And God bless.
Right.
Okay.
Brian, anything else that you want to
Well
add?
said, Lisa. Elizabeth, thanks for having us on the show. And Gilda, great to meet you. I'd encourage everybody to visit us, curatedwellness.com, and let us help you eliminate the guesswork around health and wellness. And we would love to support you. Thank you.
And yes, I would like to thank our producer at iHeartRadio, Noah Fleischman. He always makes us sound better than we think we did. And our program coordinator, Alicia Morrissey with Chatterboss, and our editors at Chatterboss, and our media maven, Kenya Gipson, who couldn't be here today, and the whole iHeart team. And we will have another great show next week. So thank you, listeners. Have a great day. Man, actually, it's have a great night, but I don't care.